It's Dirty Data time alongside Aaron Ward and Shane Kelly and Irfaan Gaffar here with the fourth period. Guys, the Montreal Canadiens had an interesting offseason. You get the first overall draft pick. They get Slavkovsky in their own backyard in Montreal. Martin St. Louis trying to install all this belief within his new young group, Aaron. And right now it seems a little bit is paying off.
Yeah, Martin St. Louis has done a great job of instilling confidence in areas we thought would need a great level of encouragement, and that's in the D-corps. They got a young group of guys we thought would be almost the dead weight on the team throughout the course of the season, but they've been outstanding. Caden Gooley has been awesome. He's been paired up with Savard. Savard last year coming into the season, we're thinking, where are we going to hide him? They have been a complementary piece to each other. Gooley drew actually matching minutes against Crosby when they played Pitt. Harris, outstanding also. He's a really young guy, but doing all the things been asked of him, hasn't stuck out like a sore thumb. And then you got a guy like Arbor Xhekaj, who, honestly, I'm not sure there's a lot of guys around the National Hockey League that want to test him. He's very, very young, notoriously tough from the OHL, worked at Costco over the pandemic, comes into the Montreal Canadiens, and I think, honestly, his story's kind of inspired a lot of guys back there. And the greatest part is Montreal over the last few seasons has been pushed around. The last fight Xhekaj had with Cassian, if I'm a forward, if I'm a defenseman on this team, I feel a little more confident about what I can get away with on the ice. Up front, you see there's a little bit of a development. Monahan gets traded here. Montreal gets a first-rounder for him. You think that's just absorbing a first-rounder. Maybe you can flip him. But he's actually kind of emerged, right? He had 2 hip surgeries, didn't know exactly what you'd get from him and when you'd get it. He's ready for the regular season. He starts the third, second line, and now he's catapulted himself up with Suzuki and Caulfield and been great. He's actually stepped in to help Suzuki on faceoffs, so that line has seemed to be solidifying itself with the relationship. And the second and third line and fourth line have kind of been a mishmash of players. Gallagher has started to play better. They've addressed some of the center issues, having Doc and Dvorak play serviceably. So this is a team that, I'll say it this way, isn't nearly as bad as we expected, and they could make some noise and start to create what the Montreal Canadiens are looking for is the culture. Maybe not winning every night, but being competitive and putting up something of some adversity to the opponent.
Yeah, this team to me has some reason for optimism. Coming into the season, like you talked about, I think it's the story almost of found money. Monahan last year, whatever stat you look at, he was just not playable in the NHL, and he wasn't playing by the end of the season. Xhekaj, they signed on a PTO. Harris, I don't think was a high draft pick either. So there's 3 guys who are helping this rebuild, or retooling almost, because it feels almost like they're trying to do what the Canucks have talked about doing for years, which is, retooling on the fly. But unlike the Canucks, they're actually being successful doing it. And it shows up in the data, because this is the team that's right around 50% expected goals, right around 50% possession. They're putting other guys in position to succeed. You talk about Doc. What's he good at? Not generating a ton of offense, but he's incredible as a puck transporter. He's primary puck transporter in that line. So, to me, plus Allen at the back end was a solid signing at $4 million a season. To me, this is a really intelligently put together team. And the data says they can keep doing this for the rest of the season.
You do have to give a head nod to Jake Allen, because here's the truth. Once you find out Carey Price is not going to make the season, right? Everybody's hanging their hopes he's going to come back, and he's going to help these young guys develop and shore things up. You could have folded the tent up. Instead, Allen's been very good, and Montembeault has been serviceable. So I think they've exceeded expectations back there in net. It's not saying a ton, but it is something something to be positive about.
It's funny, Drake referenced a song, What's the Code for the Wi-Fi, and that's Xhekaj's nickname, and I'm not going to get into it, but Aaron, let's go to another team, and that's the Philadelphia Flyers, because expectations heading into this season for that team were pretty low. You get John Tortorella as a new head coach, and things aren't looking so bad.
All right, so I'm going to admit that in the fourthperiod.com selections, I picked Philly to be last overall in the National Hockey League. Now, if you're a Philly fan, just think of it as a positive. I was putting you in place to get Bedard. This is a prove-it tour, right? So you're bringing in a new coach who's got some baggage, and everybody assumes he's just this one way. Whether he has or hasn't, it's relatively early, but the litmus test right now tells you that he's elicited some response from this lineup, because now we have Hart, who's playing outstanding. It's the guy they always thought they were getting when they drafted him. There's a head scratcher. Usually you see a guy not reemerge or reestablish himself till he's been given up on by his franchise. He goes to a new franchise and finds himself. It's happened in Philly. You got D'Angelo coming in from Carolina. This is a presence. This is a guy that, again, coming from New York, didn't fare very well, comes to Carolina. He gets himself reestablished as a National Hockey League player, can quarterback the power play. Even though it's not great, Philly has gone from last overall in the power play at 32nd, now the 20th. Early on in the season, but still an improvement. And with D'Angelo coming in, he's almost kind of helped Provorov emerge also. So you now have two defensemen in your top 5 in scoring. So go to the forwards. Hayes, JVR, these guys are starting to find themselves. And I got to go back to Tortorella. Tortorella, I think, has done a service for this group, specifically up front, to create an identity and hold them accountable to playing to that identity. And one of the biggest complaints about Philly is you never knew what you got from game to game. They might forecheck. They might be trying to be a little more skilled finesse. Now you know who they are. They are the John Tortorella team he's going to demand the most out of his players. I mean, we were just talking off air, the fact that he benched his Hayes in the last game should tell you enough that he's trying to make his message resonate with everybody.
Carter Hart's the story here to me. He's been one of the best, if not the best goalie in the league to start the season. Talk about a huge turnaround. Now your question is, okay, can he keep doing this? Draft pedigree is there. Let's just see if he keeps that up, because this, to me, explains a lot of the success. I mean, I can't imagine that Provorov and D'Angelo are going to keep scoring at the rates they are, especially at 5-on-5. If they do, they'll be really, really high up in the Norris voting. They're on almost Cale Makar pace from last year, so kudos to them, but will it continue? To me, this is a team you still got to sell on. Their 5-on-5 play, especially among the forwards, they're creating almost no offense. They're 28th in the league in expected goals by their forwards. They have only 6 5-on-5 goals scored by the forwards. So I still think this is a team that is in the early stages of a rebuild. And yes, Tortorella has come in and done some good things, but would we be singing his praises if Hart hadn't turned into arguably the best goalie in the league? So if I'm the Flyers, I'm still selling. And I'm just thankful that, a lot of these guys are having starts to their seasons like JVR and Hayes that the data didn't see coming.
I don't want to not give Konechny his credit too, because he had to ride the pine in the last game also along with Hayes. But here's the truth. San Jose not putting up a single goal in your last game, that's troubling. I mean, that's an indicator, again, like, as great as we feel about Philadelphia for the surprise factor, is one game falling back to earth? Are they being who we thought they were going to be? So that, again, I'd say that the jury's out still on Philly. Great story so far for all involved, but not completely sold quite yet.
Yeah, thank you very much for this, gentlemen. It's two different stories. John Tortorella trying to get the most out of his team, while the Montreal Canadiens and Marty St. Louis are looking to surprise a few people this season.